Another time in the age of wonder.
There's two main ways in which people play tabletop role-playing games. You can play with the Battlemap, or you can play with Theatre of the Mind, which is a Ponzi way of saying you imagine everything. My preference has always been for Theatre of the Mind. We've been playing a lot of Iron Kingdoms for quite a while now, and that's a game that's absolutely reliant upon the Battlemap style of play. So, I've bought a lot of terrain tiles and so on, and we use all that, and it's important for the ranges and so on, and it does settle all of those kinds of arguments. And for a game like Iron Kingdoms, where it's completely tied into that, it works. But I do find that it detracts from the role-playing aspect of the game, and that's something I found difficult with 4th edition D&D, which was very tied to the Battlemap, but which we, in our infinite wisdom, decided to do away with and play as a straight role-playing game. And that was rather difficult, though in our experience it made 4th Ed a bit more fun to do it that way, quite frankly. So why don't I like it, and why has it been so crystallised in my mind that I don't like doing it that way? I mean, it does have its advantages. We have a really large group in our monthly game, and handling that many people using pure role-playing is difficult, whereas if you go more turn-based and if you concentrate on the Battlemap more, that does make the sheer logistics of running a game easier, but I still feel that it detracts from the role-playing aspect. You're less tempted to describe things in detail because you can just kind of slap down something and that shows the disposition and so on, so you're less inclined, less motivated to describe things well, and people aren't picturing in their head necessarily to the same extent what's going on. They're looking at their little figure on the map and figuring out where that is in relation to other things. It makes it more like chess and less like a novel. If I put down a map that's a square room or whatever, then that's it, and the tiles often don't necessarily match what you want for the description. But the fact that there's an object there roots people in reality and in the map rather than what you've described. It's the difference between a 10 by 10 room, an orc is guarding a chest, and it's a crowded, dark chamber. Your torchlight picks out red eyes glittering in the dark. That sort of thing. That's missing, and the tiles don't. Like I said, the tiles don't necessarily match what you want to be there. You have to go with the tiles that you have, unless you custom build maps for every single encounter, which is a lot of extra work. And if you're carrying counters and tiles and stuff around, that's a lot of extra stuff to lug around if you have to travel 40-50 miles into Reading to game, like I have to. That's more stuff to carry, more stuff to lug around. So all these reasons are why I prefer Theatre of the Mind. Now, that's not to denigrate people that like using battle maps. I can see the appeal, I can understand the appeal. It's just, for me, I much prefer to concentrate on the narrative and the role-playing aspect, the descriptions. I guess it's the writer in me. I like to describe the world and have that carry the scene rather than the maps. And there's some beautiful stuff out there, don't get me wrong. It's not all hand-drawn grid marks. There's some really gorgeous battle maps out there that have been built by people, and then there's the whole miniatures aspect, which is pure artistry. Things like Dwarven Forge. You can marvel at what's there and the skill that's been taken in painting the figures and the terrain and putting it all together, and how much money and time has gone into it. But then when it comes to the actual encounters and the fights, then it's reduced back down to that game of chess. Okay, I can move this many feet, I can do this action, is he in range? No, that kind of stuff, rather than sprinting and sliding across the floor and smashing down the chandelier and thinking in terms of what is my character doing. You're thinking in terms of what can my piece do on the board, and for me that just detracts from the whole point and the whole experience, and that's something that role-playing has done, diverging from wargaming, that has made it stronger and more different and more appealing in my book. This is one of those things that people fight about, like edition wars. So what do you think? What works best for you and best for your group? Do you prefer a small intimate group where you can play a more narrative game, or do you like to have lots of mates around and concentrate on the socialisation aspect and make it more like a skirmish game? What works for you? Why do you choose your preference? What is your preference? Let me know. Zang. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe, share on your social media, and if you feel so inclined, you can support me on Patreon at Grimatube. My main website is postmortemstudios.wordpress.com, and there, or on Twitter, you can keep up with me and everything that I'm doing.